Hey, coach, just got a short video today. Going to go through our practice schedule and stay with me to the end because at the end we'll talk about how we marry the insertion schedule with the practice schedule. So had several guys reach out asking about practice schedules and I'm going to tell you right up front. Uh, Almost all this stuff is copied from How Mummy. We got a few things that we do different, but it's 99%. It's Coach Mummy's practice schedule, just like it's Coach Mummy's insertion schedule. Uh, if you're looking for like a real detail, well, if you want to see the Godfather himself, Stan Bedwell's Tennessee clinic. Hal is the last speaker on that clinic, and he goes through insertion, game planning, and practice schedule, and it's honestly one of the best clinics I ever saw Hal do. And it was just all by itself. His presentation is worth the money for that. That's on Coach Tube if you're interested in seeing how he does it. But we're very, very similar. So I'm going to take you through it real quick, kind of like we did the insertion schedule. I'm just going to walk you through it on a Word doc and talk through it. So we have 11 period practice. We're out there for 95 minutes. Uh, our practice runs pretty dang quick. We don't do sprints at the end just because our tempo is so good in practice. Never feel like we need to. Plus, I'm a believer in playing ourselves into shape anyway. We do so many 7-on-7s in the summer, and we're very high tempo and during scrimmages. So we just that's a Hal thing. We never do sprints after practice. Let me see why this thing isn't obeying. There you go. All right, so 11 periods, 95 minutes. And this is very important. And on your practice schedule, make sure you're right. Water is 100% available. We'll have a water break almost at the midpoint of practice, but they always have squeeze bottles available. They're constantly drinking water. That's for young coaches. That's very important that you write that on your practice schedule for legal reasons. All right, so period number one is a 5-minute period. That's our special forces period. I've got a video on that. That's individual special teams where we got punters punting and punt returners catching and long snappers and kickoff people and what else? Field goal snappers. We got it all going on at one time, and that's a 5-minute period. And the line coaches, they have the big boys off to the side working some of their fundamental stuff, mainly like agility stuff. That's when they'll go through bags and ropes and all that kind of stuff. All right, period two is a 10-minute period. And that is our unit period, what we call unit, and that's when we're working our special teams. So we'll usually work them together. So we'll work kickoff, kick return, and we'll work a punt, which we call pride, and punt block, which we call SWAT. So if we don't have enough, like if we're not able, our goal is to two-platoon those two units so that they can work good versus good. But if we're not able to do that, then it'll be varsity kickoff versus JV kick return, and vice versa. So that's how we work through that. Period three is another 10-minute period, and this is I don't know why I just jumped like that, but this is a 10-minute period, and this is what we call Bama, and this is probably one of the like it'll look very traditional, like we'll line up in rows and all that, and that's the time that we're going through, slapping hands and patting helmets and saying hello to everybody. So it's a building time, but basically Bama is about tackling. It's about form tackling. It's about that's when we'll get the wheels out there, and Coach C's got some big blue like bouncy balls that he likes to use. But we're working all different types of form tackling, and then once we're allowed to make contact, we'll start working like angle tackles at thud angle tackles where we're really working on how we're fitting and driving our feet and bringing our hips and digging them out of there. So very productive period. The whole team's involved, quarterbacks, kickers, everyone goes through Bama. Even though we're a two-platoon team, All those guys are going to play on special teams, so you never know who's got to make a tackle. Period 4 is our mesh period. That's a 5-minute period. And what this turned into in the spring is we would go mesh one day, and then the next day we would go goal line fade because we had so many new kids out there that we were kind of losing that the very detailed ability to make that ball come over your outside shoulder, which we think is very important to our offense. Being able to release, we'd have a guy in front where they're working their release, stacking behind the DB, and then working that outside shoulder fade into the end zone. So we're running that thing from like the 10-yard line, and a very, very productive drill. Really, last year we only did goal line fade, but this year we're going back and forth. We're really wanting to emphasize mesh. So we're going back and forth between mesh and goal line fade this year in period 4. Period 5 is when we start our position period. So period 5 is a 10-minute period, and that's position for us. That is when we're working noose and pat and go, the two very most fundamental air raid drills there are. And that's when we use that 10 minutes to get through those drills. Next one, period 6 is another 10-minute period, and that is our routes on air period. Get this right. That's routes on air. We usually just call it routes. And and I'll give you a sneak peek on this. This changes in the spring and the summer. We're working by insertion. So when we get the routes, we're working all the pass plays on cones versus cones that we're going to run that day. So and preseason, it's by insertion. Once the season gets there, Monday will be a quick game day, Tuesday will be a 90s day, and Wednesday will be a RPO day is how it works normally. All right, so it changed a little bit when you get in season. All right, and then we have a 5-minute water break. Again, it's not the only time they're allowed to have water, but that's when the whole team stops, practice stops for 5 minutes. We make them take their helmets off because it gets hot in North Carolina too, and we just shut it down for 5 minutes and water them up. Then we come back. Period 7 is a 5-minute period, and that is one-on-ones with the DBs and receivers, and then it's also inside run for the big boys and the running backs. So we're split right there during that period. It's the first time, other than Bama, it's the first time that offense and defense comes together and works together. We've been separate all these periods until we get to this inside run period and this one-on-one period. In season, we'll give defense. Usually, we'll have like Monday and Wednesday is their scout runs, and Tuesday will be offensive runs. All right, period 8 is a 10-minute period, and that is what we call Skelly Pro, and that's when we're running 7-on-7 versus ourselves, and we're also doing one-on-one pass pro with the big boys. I think the most important drill there is for O-line. It helps D-line. It's a very competitive period, and then 7-on-7. To be honest, if the D coordinator has a pass that he's concerned about, he'll give me the card, and we'll make sure we run. We sprinkle that pass in or those two passes in that he's concerned about. But honestly, Skelly time is we're running our stuff versus our defense, and it's very competitive. Iron sharpens iron, so we're really, that's a competitive period for us for the most part. All right, period 9 is when we start our team period. So that's a 10-minute period, and we'll go team O. And while team O is going, that means that's varsity offense with varsity defense is scouting us, and hopefully on the other end we got JV defense getting scouted by JV offense at the same time. Period 10 is a 10-minute period, and that is team D. So team D, now we have our varsity offense scouting for our varsity defense, and on the other end, We got JV offense with the JV defense scouting for them. Period 11 uh, is our competition period. One of the probably the most fun period of the day. We call it championship. Uh, just selling that concept that it all comes down to competing and being able to pull the trigger when the bullets are flying. So that works on a menu. So I'll give you an example. During the spring, the first competition, we did races. We had our fastest. I think we had our fastest four offensive guys raced one at a time versus our fastest defensive guys. The next day, I think we did 2 point plays. The next day, we did overtime, which in North Carolina is 4 plays from the 10. The next day, we did 4 plays from the 20. I think we repeated that the next day because defense won. So we repeated it the next day. And normally I do that. If defense beats us, we'll replay that same scenario the next day in the spring and the summer. And then the next day, I believe we went back. We had 9 days of spring ball, so I think we went back to 2 point plays. I might have left something out, but that was the basic. So you see, we didn't do a bandit drive, but normally that's a big deal during competition or during championship is to drive the field, have a bandit situation where we're down by three and we got one timeout. We're trying to put in a game situation as much as we can, but the whole concept of championship is competition, pressure, getting kids to pull the trigger when it means something. And on our team, there's a big reward for winning competition. We've got nice gold practice jerseys, and then we've got some crappy white jerseys. And so they're competing. Whoever wins championship gets to wear the gold jerseys the next day. So very competitive time for us. So that's our regular. This will be all summer and then into the season is how this works. Now, how do you do the insertion schedule? Well, during preseason, spring and summer, when we get the team periods, we're by the day. So when we're on Skelly and we're in team periods, we're only running the plays that are for that day's insertion. So day one, we would be running only counter. We'd be running only Larry Roger. We'd be running only 7 and 9. We'd be only running 96, and we can run mesh every single day because that's got its own period. All right. So and then the RPO, I can't remember what the RPO. I think the RPO is that Ram Lions screen combo. So only those plays are run that day. Now, when we get into the season, things change a little bit because now we're game planning, and now we're more wristband dependent. So there's different columns on the wristband, and we're basically just trying to practice each one of those columns each day. So the big changes when we get to routes on air, I told you that one. Mondays quicks, Tuesdays 90s, Wednesdays are RPOs. But then when we get to this team period, instead of going day one insertion on Monday, we would be going, all the blue plays. And then the next day we'd be doing all the green plays, and the next day all the red plays, whatever's on the wristband. And the same would happen in Skelly. We would run only that section plays during Skelly, and usually we even try one-on-one and inside. During the preseason, when it's day one, they're only seeing counter that whole day. That whole 5 minutes, they're seeing counter at them. And then the next day they're only seeing outside zone, and the next day they're only seeing power. So we're very disciplined on only hitting the plays that correspond to insertion schedule in the spring, summer. But then when the season starts, and we carry that all the way up until the week before, we go all the way through scrimmages that way. And then game week is when we switch over to wristbands, and that's when we're going section by section to get our game plan in. And game plan is kind of it's not the way we game plan is not the way a traditional, NFL team or college team, when they say we're carrying this many concepts in, we are a 3-day insertion. We're carrying our entire offense into every single game. Now, depending on what they're showing us, we're going to obviously like some plays better versus their fronts and their secondary schemes. But we're carrying the whole offense and we're practicing the whole offense, which is a reason why we're going back to a 3-day insertion instead of the 4-day that we've been on in the past, just because we felt like we were practicing a lot more offense than we were actually running in the game. So we really pared it down. We're very pleased. We went through spring with a 3-day insertion. Very, very happy with it. Very happy with the new plays that we got in, especially some of the RPOs. I'll be doing some videos on those. I did have someone on Twitter hit me up today. I have not uploaded the drill stuff yet to the Coach Tube course, but I'll try to get that this week. I know I've been promising that for a while, but we're going to get it uploaded here shortly. And remember, if you already bought the course, that just comes free. It'll just appear in there when you go to the course. If you haven't bought the course yet, this will be all of our last year's stuff, and we'll do it again next year. Also, we'll everything we do this year, we'll get filmed and we'll get on there, and just keep that continuously growing that package. So I appreciate the guys. I appreciate you watching this video. Please, subscribe and like and share and comment and do all that stuff. And I appreciate the guys who buy the Coach Tube course. I've got nothing but good comments and good feedback from it, and we're going to continually try to make that thing better for you. All right, man. Thank you.